A seesaw battle all the way in Tampa Bay. John Reeves was the starter. Ricky Williams, touchdown, Tampa Bay. It went back and forth all day with Boston taking the lead, but Reeves gave it back to Tampa Bay again, this time to Eric Trevelyan. Another Tampa touchdown. Then with 10 minutes left in the game, it was up to Reeves to win the game for Tampa Bay, and he did so. 33 yards to Willie Gillespie. Nice catch as he turns around. 21-17, Tampa Bay wins over the Boston Breakers.
Chicago 10. So it's close there, but not so close at New Jersey. East Rutherford, Giants Stadium. Good crowd looking on, but it's been all Tampa Bay. Early on, it was John Reeves with a 3-yard touchdown pass to Greg Boone. That made the score 11-0. The Bandits going for 2 on the conversion and making it. And then Reeves striking again with 2:30 to play in the first half. 25 yards to Eric Trevelyan. It is 18-3 as Dave Jacobs kicked a 30-yard field goal at the half. Herschel Walker has carried the ball 14 times for just 29 yards.
The scene, Veterans Stadium, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The battle of the unbeatens in week number 4 of the USFL. The Tampa Bay Bandits, the Philadelphia Stars. John Reeves knew the surrounding. He played for the Eagles in Philadelphia. And he finds Eric Trevelyan, 33 yards for the touchdown, 7-0 Tampa Bay. Calvin Bryant, the league's leading rusher, answers the call for Philadelphia, running through tackles, 35 yards for the touchdown that tied it at 7. Chuck Fusina, playing while injured, had a miserable day. Here it's picked off by Jeff George. He returns it 24 yards for the touchdown, 27-22. The Bandits, a homecoming for Reeves.
It's the first time back at the vet. I started here professionally, played here for 3 years, and it's good to come here and come out a winner. Stars were tough, and we're kind of holding on at the end, but we're glad to take home the victory to Tampa.
Tampa Bay remains the only unbeaten team in the USFL. They knocked Philadelphia off 27-22.
In Denver, fans hunger for the Gold's third straight win, and Ken Johnson dazzles the Tampa Bay Bandits with some help from an ex-quarterback named Harry Sidney. Lionel Fay, a restaurant management major, doesn't care who serves him up, and Denver fans are being treated to a rare show of versatility by their runner, turned passer, turned receiver, Harry Sidney. The 23-year-old Sidney also plays on Denver's special teams and leads the Gold in both rushing and scoring. Naturally in Denver, they love Sidney. And with the home team up by 7, John Reeves has his true love thwarted by David Dumars. Return helps spring Denver to a 10-point first-half lead, but holding on against Tampa is no easy task. Steve Spurrier's offense revolves around quarterback Reeves, who walks into the record books this night by throwing an astonishing 63 passes. Reeves' 38 completions go to 8 different receivers and account for 357 yards, making him the league's top gainer. Running back Sam Platt catches a record 12, but from the 1, it's easier to run. The Rowdy Bandits regain the lead, and now Denver coach Red Miller tries to remember how he got ahead to begin with. Why, sure, it was Harry Sidney, and the Gold's Mr. Offense spearheads a comeback. Larry Canada, the former Denver Bronco, bulls his way into field goal range, and now it's a numbers game. Denver, down by 3, calls on number 3, Brian Spielman. The 33-yard field goal sends the game into overtime, but the coin flip doesn't come up gold. It's Tampa's ball, and that means hold on to your hats. It's no secret what's coming, but Reeves is given enough time to publish his plans. Inside goal territory, Reeves treasures his protection and strikes deep to Eric Trevelyan. On second down from the 11, Spurrier sends in a pass play, right? Well, of course. It's just a question of who Reeves will throw it to, right? But what's this? Greg Boone is running the ball. He bounces it all the way for a game-winning touchdown. And it's clear the Bandits' winning ways are no passing fancy. The Tampa Bay Bandits are the only team to beat the Stars so far. But head coach Steve Spurrier gets a semi-tough message from one of his team's owners.
Steve, I think it's nice for you to be laid back. I think that's very good. To be quiet and all the things that you are. But you're getting boring. But if you keep winning, it doesn't matter.
More than 46,000 have Tampa Stadium hopping this Easter Eve, looking for their beloved Bandits to jump to 5-0. With the Chicago Blitz in town, Bandit fans can't be blamed for feeling a little bit bug-eyed. Tampa Bay's number 88, Danny Bugs, is showing why he leads the league in yards per catch. Chicago also has a pass-catching number 88 named Bugs. Wayman Bugs, a cousin of Danny's. Okay, so we got that straight, right? Well, Blitz quarterback Greg Landry clears it all up by going to Chicago's Superfly, Tremaine Johnson. George Allen relishes the challenge of knocking off the Kingpins, and his swarming defense has John Reeves throwing it up for grabs. Steve Spurrier now has to watch a quarterback just 1 year his junior riddle his defense, and it seems there's no solving this Landry to Johnson connection. The Bandits' offense was the league's best till this week, but John Reeves is falling prey to one blitz after another. Chicago safety Luther Bradley is redefining Bandit ball, catching more passes than any Tampa receiver and carrying this one 93 yards. Spurrier's tasting his first defeat as a head coach, and Bradley is celebrating a record-breaking performance. Greg Landry, who once set an NFL record for rushing yards by a quarterback, adds to the league's most lopsided score.
This is Lee Majors. There's still time.
Hey, look who's hawking tickets in Los Angeles. LA's new part owner has something in common with Tampa Bay Bandits part owner Burt Reynolds.
I think Burt is kind of like me. Burt's an old frustrated football player. We both found out it takes 4 things to play professional football, and I think we each lacked 3 of them: size, speed, and courage.
Well, the thing they do have is the wisdom to stay on the sidelines. So Lee and Burt stick to cheering as their teams prepare for another night at the office. Is the foreman against LA, and Tampa's well-oiled production line looks to be at peak efficiency. Danny Bugs, 62 yards in the air, and Sam Platt's 107 yards on the ground are keeping the customer satisfied. But gradually, the showroom is taken over by the officials, who call 23 penalties on the night. In all, the Zebras mark off 210 yards. In between whistles, Reeves is facing the league's second stingiest offense, and LA's Mike Fox, a one-time minor league infielder, is making the most of his first pro football start. For Reeves, the thought of Mike Fox becomes a recurrent nightmare. 3 times in all, the express safety outfoxes the Bandit quarterback. With both offenses grounded, LA quarterback Mike Ray gives way to Tom Ramsey on a critical 3rd down play. Ramsey, who usually plays the whole second half, fumbles away the honor. And now first halfer Mike Ray gets to go the rest of the way. Ray seems to be enjoying his stay and goes about protecting a 3-point fourth-quarter lead. 6 of his 13 completions go to Ricky Ellis. Then from the 1, He hands it to John Barnett. The Express has its first rushing touchdown ever and its 4th win of the year. But for Bandits coach Steve Spurrier, an even bigger loss in the game is the loss of John Reeves. The former University of Florida All-American has become a local hero again by leading Tampa Bay into first place. Reeves, whose comeback is one of the league's more remarkable stories, can't escape the wrath of a swarming LA defense. Spurrier's field leader has broken his wrist in 2 places, and John Reeves will be out for most of the season. Backup Jimmy Jordan from Florida State now steps in, trying to hang on to the Bandits' 1-game lead in the Central Division.
The capital defense of the Federals has been scoring lots of points recently, but this week's opponent presents a monumental challenge for York and his entire team, even though visiting Tampa Bay is without injured quarterback John Reeves. Jimmy Jordan, another Floridian, takes over the Tampa reins, and the Tallahassee native from Florida State seems to be playing favorites. Eric Trevelyan's 28-yard reception puts Tampa on the board, and Jordan goes back to Trevelyan for another first-quarter score. The connection's already soured Washington, but the novice quarterback is not afraid to be redundant. It's Eric Trevelyan's 3rd score of the half, and E.T. has the Feds phoning home for help. Eric Robinson, who was born in the nation's capital, answers a local call by going long distance. Robinson's 94-yard dash is the first kickoff return for a touchdown in league history. Jefferson Street Joe Gillum is struggling in his 3rd start at quarterback for Washington, and the man who's making life difficult for Gillum is former Patriot Doug Bedoin, who intercepts for the 3rd time in the game. Steve Spurrier's Bandits lead York's Feds 20-6 at half, and it's reflected in the moods of the 5-2 Bandits, who want to keep from getting overconfident against the struggling Feds.
AJ, keep it up now. Good job.
It was 20-8 last week. 20-8, baby. It was 20-8 at halftime. Who came back? So it's cover hard here. Be heads up out there. What they're doing is they're picking us up about 8 or 10 yards down the field.
At halftime, coaches busily convey strategy, and in some cases, bad news. Gillum gets the word that he'll spend the second half on the sidelines. But most of all, halftime is a time to repair damaged egos.
There's nothing wrong with what you're doing. There's nothing wrong with your intensity and your play. You're a good football team. Now let's just go out there and see if we can't play 30 minutes of perfect football. You'll win the football game.
It doesn't take long for second half action to get going full throttle, as Mike Harris takes the pole position on the opening kickoff and returns it 71 yards. The Federals seem to be responding to York's talk as rookie Craig James takes the first down handoff 19 yards for his first professional rushing touchdown. James is still savoring it as Tampa's domination is rapidly slipping away. Gillum's replacement is rookie Mike Hohensee, who's come back after breaking his sternum in the 2nd week of the season and throws his 2nd touchdown pass of the season to Mike Holmes. Washington's defense has also taken York's words to heart, and after 3 spirited quarters, the contest presents a perfect vision of a dead heat. But Tampa regains control in the 4th quarter, and Spurrier has an unlikely hero. Carl Franks, a 23rd round draft choice from Duke, who joined the Bandits 3 days before, goes 18 yards to give Tampa Bay its 6th win and the snake-bitten Federals their 7th loss. Jimmy Jordan, the young man who emerged from John Reeves' shadow against Washington, gained a national reputation when he was at Florida State. Jordan completed exactly half of his passes, 39 for touchdowns, and finished his collegiate career with more than 4,000 passing yards. He also played in 3 bowl games and was the Tangerine Bowl Most Valuable Player in 1977. At Washington, he shed his understudy role and put together one of the best games any USFL quarterback has had. completing 30 of 45 passes for 345 yards and 3 touchdowns. He filled Reeves' shoes and eventually may force his coach to have to make a tough decision. In Tampa Bay, where it's usually spring-like, there's a rivalry heating up between the league's 2 most successful teams. The Philadelphia Stars, whose only loss was to Tampa, would like to erase the unpleasant memory of Bandit Ball's visit to Philly. Willie Collier does his part, and Alan Harvin shows Tampa what Star Ball is all about. But as usual, it's Calvin Bryant who's cast in the starring role. Philly's offensive approach is rather basic, and a reversal in form shows why. When the ball changes hands, Jimmy Jordan looks for his favorite receiver. Eric Trevelyan grabs his 4th touchdown in 2 weeks, and an ET fan congratulates him. Injured John Reeves appears likely to get some sideline company when Scott Warner jolts Jordan. But the battered Bandits manage to escape serious injury. Alan Harvin can't escape his role as a backup, though the rookie from Cincinnati is awfully elusive. Harvin gives the Stars a 10-point lead, then watches Bryant get ready to go to work. Calvin gains 84 yards in the second half and goes over 100 yards for the 6th time. And Steve Spurrier's victory plans are messed up for good when Fusina pitches to Bryant from the 3. It's a 14-point win for Philly, and Tampa's fans see their half-season mark fall to 6-3, while the Stars climb to 8-1. The proponents of Bandit Ball have some consolation, though. Steve Spurrier sends in the first nominee for our first midseason prize, the Improv Award, as the innovative Bandits are stealing hearts in Tampa. Out-of-town skies have been mostly sunny for Steve Spurrier, who has Ricardo Montalban and Tampa Bay part owner Burt Reynolds looking over his shoulder in Oakland. The Bandits are 4-0 on the road, and in the early going, they're making themselves comfortable. Quarterback Jimmy Jordan has looked right at home after stepping in for injured John Reeves, and Sam Platt keeps the Bandits on the move. Early in the second quarter, Jordan decides he's had enough of the drive and tells wide receiver Danny Buggs to pull over. The league's second leading receiver puts Spurrier in the mood, and the Bandits go exploring for more. Eric Trevelyan is the trailblazer for Tampa, whose offense leads the league in both passing and total yardage. And the next marker on the road to a 17-0 lead is left in the trusty hands of Trevelyan. Oakland's John Ralston gets the word to Fred Basana that he's tired of having the home team's space invaded. The Bandit Ball continues, though, and the souvenir hunt takes in a total of 6 turnovers. Oakland's frustration gives way to hope when Basana, the league's second-rated passer, shows the courage of his own convictions. Down by 10 in the fourth quarter, the Invaders threaten again. But Basana's pass to Gordon Banks is followed by a flag, and the interference call cancels the 6. After completing 15 straight passes, Basana looks for one more with Oakland down by 7. But his last toss belongs to the Bandits, as does the 17-10 win. But there was bad news for Tampa fans who see their team return home this weekend. First-string quarterback John Reeves is already sidelined with a broken wrist. And against Oakland, second-stringer Jimmy Jordan took a third-quarter shot that left him with a badly bruised shoulder. Third-stringer Nathaniel Kuntz stepped in, and if anything happens to him, Coach Steve Spurrier may have to activate himself. The battered Bandits have been plagued by injuries all year, starting with running back Ricky Williams, who's been out since week 1. But help is on the way. This week, the Bandits traded for and signed Gary Anderson, the first-round draft choice of the New Jersey Generals.
Well, Gary Anderson is a Gale Sayers type of back. I'm not suggesting that he's an equal, but he's that type. He's an all-purpose guy that can run, can catch passes, can return kicks, very, very fast and very elusive.
Anderson played his college ball at Arkansas, where he was a wide receiver and running back. He was a first-round pick of the San Diego Chargers, but he chose to be a runner instead of a receiver, so he signed with the Bandits.
Situation against L.A. early on, midway first quarter. Fred Basana, Gordon Banks. The little guy makes a big catch for 12 yards down to the 3, and Jack Holmes takes it into the end zone. Invaders lead it 7-0 early. The Express later on in the second quarter. Draw play. 15-yard gain for little LaRue Harrington down to the 5-yard line. And this drive would be capped off by a big touchdown plunge by little Wilbert Hazlitt. And it's 7-7 at halftime. In the second half, though, watch this fluke play. The biggest play of the day. Fred Basana looking for Raymond Chester. Now, it's good. Chester catches it outside the camera range. Then he fumbles on the 2, and he gets on his hands and knees and recovers to give Oakland a 14-7 lead. The Oakland defense came up big as well, sacking quarterbacks all day. There goes Tom Ramsey to the turf. And little Kevin Shea, a big performance. 2 field goals. Bang. There's one of them, and Oakland wins it over L.A. The final, the Invaders 20, and the L.A. Express 10. And last Sunday at RFK Stadium, nation's capital, a big day for Herschel Walker and the New Jersey Generals. First play, there goes Herschel, 83 yards from the line of scrimmage. It goes for a touchdown. It is the longest run from scrimmage in USFL history and starts Herschel off on a 194-yard rushing day. That would also be a record. But Billy Taylor was not to be outdone for the Washington Federals. Here he gets a nice 32-yard touchdown run. And at this point, Washington trailed just 17-16 in the third quarter. The Federals did go ahead in this game. They get possession again amid the raindrops in the nation's capital. Had a good drive. Watch the pass play here. Mike Hohensee to Joey Walters. Big play man on this day. Walters had 193 yards receiving. Pretty good day for the All-American out of Clemson. That set up an 11-yard Hohensee pass to Craig James. The former SMU great lugs it into the end zone. 23-17 Federals. And in the fourth quarter, after New Jersey tied it, Washington goes ahead. Hohensee to Harris, the extra point, no good. So the Generals trail by 6. There's Sam Bowers catching a pass from Jeff Knappel. Touchdown, the extra point, no good. We're tied at 29. No time left. Generals have the ball. Only thing they can do, kick a 50-yard field goal. Little Dave Betts gets his foot into it. The biggest kick of the year for the New Jersey Generals, just over the crossbar. New Jersey wins it at the gun, the final. The Generals 32 and the Federals 29. The Pontiac Silverdome, Tampa Bay Bandits, Michigan Panthers in a big Central Division 2 last Monday night. Following the opening kickoff, the Panthers marched down the field on the arm of that man, number 11, Bobby Hebert at quarterback. Look now as Hebert drops back, lofting one up for tight end Mike Cobb. The big guy runs under it for the touchdown catch, 7-0 Michigan. Same score, second quarter now, Michigan is stopped. Rick Partridge is back to punt. The rookie Gary Anderson back to receive the punt for Tampa Bay. He must hear some footsteps.
The winless Oakland Invaders run into a winless San Antonio team in a gunslinging mood. San Antonio quarterback Rick Neuheisel is back from an injury, and that makes the difference. The Gunslingers' prayers for their first win ever are answered. Down in Jacksonville, the visiting San Antonio Gunslingers rolled behind Rick Neuheisel's passing and a club record 96 yards by running back Scott Stanford. The San Antonio defense limits the Bulls to a record low 188 total yards and a shutout. After a shaky start, the Gunslingers are making waves.
Our team is one of those teams that just got to fight and scratch for everything we get. We're very young. We're trying to come back and, from adversity, which we're facing right now. And I'm just proud as heck of our team.
Well, fans throughout the USFL are developing pride in their teams. Now the question is being asked, should the league move to a fall schedule?
I like it in the springtime myself. I like baseball too, but I like going to the football games in the springtime. It seems like better weather.
I like football anytime. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here today.
San Antonio, Easter Sunday afternoon, Philadelphia Stars. San Antonio Gunslingers, no score, second quarter. Philadelphia, though, gets on the board first. Chuck Juzina to a barely inbound Scott Fitzke, 7-0 Philly. Later, second quarter, from the 25, Juzina hits Tommy Donovan, also out of Penn State. Second TD toss of the day, 14-0 Stars at halftime. Third quarter with the score 17-0 Philadelphia. Rick Neuheisel for San Antonio to Jerry Gordon to put the Gunslingers on the board. Cuts the deficit to 17-7. Now in the fourth quarter with the score 20-14, this could be the winning touchdown, but no. Bill Hardy, a substitute defensive back, saves the day for Philadelphia with the interception in the end zone. The Stars go 8-1. They beat the Gunslingers. Then the San Antonio Gunslingers at Arizona, Saturday night in Tempe, Arizona. First quarter, San Antonio on top 7-0. And look at Peter Rayford step in front of this pass intended for Lenny Willis. He intercepts Alan Risher and races on into the end zone untouched. San Antonio leads at 14-0. Early in the fourth quarter, 17-14, San Antonio. Mike Ulmer fields an Arizona punt on his own 40. He's gone 60 yards for a touchdown, 24-14. With the score 24-21, under a minute to go. Arizona trying to tie the game, but Frank Corral's field goal attempt is blocked. The Gunslingers take an intentional safety and hang on for a 24-23
stadium, where the surprising San Antonio Gunslingers straddle the storyline of revenge. In Chicago 1 month prior, Vince Evans zeroed in on Chris Haynes, gunning down the Slingers in the OT corral. But now it's high noon in Texas, and San Antonio quarterback Rick Neuheisel has a 6'4" target in his sight named Joey Hackett. On a fiery field just right for scrambling legs, Evans has his plans fried by former LA defensive end Greg Fields, who punches out the first touchdown in his 5-year pro career, giving the Slingers a 17-zip lead. San Antonio has won 2 of its last 3 thanks to the patient approach of Gil Stanke. But Evans rebounds nicely against one of the stingiest teams in the league. And in the final minute of play, he brings the blitz within 2 with a north of the border move to Larry Canada. The blitz is one short kick away from recovery.
Let's go now, let's go now!
But while Chicago has the numbers on its side, San Antonio's Peter Rayford has good fortune on his. Langford's third opportunistic touchdown of the year gives the Gunslingers a 30-21 measure of revenge and lifts them to 4-7 in the Central Division. But keeping out of the basement is just the start for what might be the USFL second half glamour team.
You know, I think that if we can just keep this kind of mixture going and keep playing the way we are and keep having fun the way we are, then we've got a real chance to make some noise in the USFL.
Granted, as quarterback Rick Neuheisel gives the Slingers a 7-0 lead with a floater to Joey Hackett. San Antonio coach Gil Stanky gets a belated 65th birthday present. But Washington has been reborn of late, and the combination of Mike Hohensee to Joey Walters is a major part of their salvation. Well, Choate has to like what he sees of the San Antonio offense as the Slingers strike right back, with Neuheisel locating the much-traveled rookie, Mark Rush.
Good job, Mark.
Rush puts San Antone back on top and puts Choate back to work.
Huddle up, huddle up, huddle up. Hey, hey. No. Twist, 5-man, Ray. 5-man? Liz! Uh-oh, alley-oop.
But while the bounty hunters start out dancing the 5-man twist, they end up doing the Hohensee stomp. Stanky Slingers hold fast and take the steam out of the Fed's drive. And on the ensuing field goal try, the Washington Post delivers some bad news.
Yeah!
Of course, San Antonio did lend a hand.
Hey, did you touch them? Yeah, I thought you did.
The Gunslingers up their lead to 27-7, courtesy once again of Mr. Rush.
All right! Good job, good job!
Rush scores his first 2 pro touchdowns, but the bounty hunters are the real stars this day, holding the Feds to just 40 yards rushing.
So what I want is collision, depth into the curl out of nickel. Collision, off, ready to react up on this one, safety over the top, all right?
Behind Pud, San Antone grinds out a 30-14 win. For Mark Putchote, it's all in the day's work.
That's it. Let's go home. How do you feel, Put? Lovely, we won.
San Antonio quarterback Rick Neuheisel, however, has other ideas. Jerry Gordon lifts the Gunslingers to a 10-0 third-quarter lead. And while the Alamo rocks, Michigan reels as star quarterback Bobby Hebert is knocked out with an injury. With last year's #1 passer sidelined, Whit Taylor comes on to tie the game at 17 and force an overtime. But the Gunslingers are shot down in the extra period as Oliver Davis gives the Panthers a 23-17 heart-stopping win. While the Slingers come close, it's Michigan who moves closer to the playoffs. Gamblers defended their claim to Texas at Houston. The San Antonio boys are in town. Rick, babyface Neuheisel, and Gil, Pop Stanky. Gunslingers, lured by the lights. Those boys were a feisty bunch. They had Joey Hackett from Elon, North Carolina, and Mike Hagan, who learned his craft under Montana's Big Sky. But even their loyal band of followers fell silent when Jim Kelly walked to the table. Now, legend has it Kelly wasn't at the top of his game that night. The Slingers took him 4 times, with that renegade Rock Richmond turning the cards just after their first score. The San Antone gang surprised Kelly with their quickness, and Neuheisel surprised everyone with a silver bullet to Don Roberts. But Kelly was sharp enough to find Richard Johnson just before the half to make it 20-7 Gunslingers. And folks paused a moment to tip their hat to his 41st touchdown pass of the year, the all-time pro record. Of course, in the second half, Houston got serious. led by the Raging Cajun, Clarence Verdun. And when Kelly zeroed in on Scott McGee, well, the Gamblers were in striking distance. Get it! Then Todd Fowler put Houston up 21-20. But two more Nick Mickemeyer field goals gave the Rowdy Slingers a 5-point lead. And in the final minutes, it all came down to Kelly. It took Kelly just 2 plays and 33 seconds to cover 79 yards and clear the place out. The clincher went to Ricky Sanders, giving Houston a 29-26 win and the bragging rights to Texas. The Slingers were gone by sundown, and the Houston legend lived on.
Let's hear it for the San Antonio Gunslingers. They ended their season Sunday night at home before more than 21,000 fans. Some people said this game would be one of the few wins that San Antonio would have this season. But Marcus Bonner didn't believe him. He tweaked him for the touchdown. In fact, the Gunslingers won 7 games this year. Look at this interception return. Rick Johnson of Oklahoma is intercepted by Peter Rayford. Watch the effort by Rayford. He looks like a water bug. This excellent return with the interception sets up another San Antonio touchdown. The Gunslingers go out a winner at home. They shut out Oklahoma 23-0.
Tempe, Arizona. Frank Kush returning to Arizona. With the score 6-0 Arizona Outlaws. Marcus Dupree gives Portland Breakers a 1-point lead on an 11-yard TD run. Tragedy struck Portland later on. First, Carl Allen comes up with his big interception late in the fourth quarter to stop a Portland drive. That set up this 43-yard field goal by the Arizona Outlaws rookie Luis Zendejas. The All-American out of Arizona State, kicking in his old college stadium, was 3 for 3, and the Outlaws needed every point. More tragedy for Dick Torrey and the Portland Breakers. Here goes Marcus Dupree turning the left end, but his left knee is hit by a would-be helmet. He is gone for the year. Knee ligament damage. The Breakers lose the game. More importantly, they lose a great running back, and Marcus Dupree and Arizona wins it by.
Whoa, the press line's open for football flashbacks in the USFL. This week we open our moldy vault to follow the path of the Breakers from the beginning, baby.
Since their inception, the Breakers have looked to Dick Torrey for guidance.
Offensive and defensive linemen. Hold your hands up so you know who you are.
Well, the Breakers have always known who they are. It's where they are that's the problem. Johnny Walton and Company started in Boston in 1983, where they performed a few miracles and captured a few hearts. Well, although Nickerson Field overflowed with emotion and Papa Dick Torrey was named Coach of the Year, Gulf breezes beckoned and the Heartbreakers bust south to New Orleans, where they once again were the toast of the town and once again managed to turn the city upside down. New Orleans loved its Breaker family, so emotional, so sincere. But come 1985, it was off to Portland, where even the mayor rides a bike. Oh, say, can you see, from sea to shining sea, the Breakers, America's team, coming soon to a city near you. Well, from Boston down to New Orleans, the Breakers had moved with the sun and found themselves now in a new house in Portland, Oregon. When Marcus Dupree was injured, the Breakers lost one of the best, but Buford Jordan would shine like a star against the Los Angeles Express. Now, John Hadel had fashioned a great team, and the creme de la creme was Steve Young. But things have a way of turning around in Portland, Oregon. With pride on the line in the city of roses, the Breakers decided to scheme, and instead of reverse, went full speed ahead like a finely tuned running machine. With LA well aware of the ground game, the Breakers had some fun and faked them into a 7-3 hole in Portland, Oregon. The hero, and the fans soaked in ecstasy. But the topping was Tim Mazzetti's 100 straight PAT. Well, when Steve Young falls behind, he knows only one thing. If he can't find a target, he can always run.
So he rambled and scrambled 110 yards worth and regained the lead in Portland, Oregon. But back came the breakers as Jordan made hay to lead 14-10 with time ticking away. Well, mamas, tell your children. Tell them if they ever grow up to play ball, they do well to forget about LA's final thrust. For with no timeouts and the game on the line, they dissolved against a two-man rush. From Boston on down to New Orleans, the Breakers had found ways to win and have fun. And when time ran out, they had done so again in Portland, Oregon. Where a wayward football team has added still another city to its list. And a bona fide hero named Buford Jordan has created a new wave of interest. And on this night, Jordan turns his attention to the Orlando Renegades. With 175 yards and a touchdown, Jordan assumes the Western Conference rushing lead. But the Breakers are hitting on all cylinders as Matt Robinson, in his first start for Portland, connects with Dwight Beverly for a 35-yard score. Up by 12 late in the game, the Breakers appear in perfect shape. But Orlando's Jerry Parrish preaches a different sermon altogether. And it's a long one. 95 yards to be exact. The Renegades are red hot. And on the last play of the game, give it one final shot. Victor Jackson has the game in his grasp, and after some interesting maneuvers, breaks into the clear for what appears to be the winning touchdown. But for the grace, that is, of Robert Pennywell's fingertips, leaving Jackson just 14 yards from victory. With their first miracle in Portland, the Breakers have officially arrived. Well, the man who makes the Breakers shine is Buford Jordan, a polished pro. Jordan rushed for more than 1,200 yards last year, led the league with a 6-yard average per carry, and was voted the Breakers' MVP. That's no surprise to folks who watched him at McNeese State, where he topped 1,000 yards 3 years in a row and became the all-time leading rusher in Louisiana collegiate history. In the USFL last year, no rookie gained more yards than Buford Jordan. Now in Portland, Jordan's off to a great start, taking even 175-yard games in stride.
Well, no, I just, went out there and did my best and stuff, and, everything worked out good.
BJ's doing just fine, Mom. You'd be...
Los Angeles Express and the Portland Breakers bring pro football back to Portland last Saturday night on ESPN. In the second quarter, 3-0 LA, but Portland's Doug Woodward to Frank Lockett on a flea flicker. Tim Mazzetti's 100th consecutive PAT made it 7-3 in favor of the hometown Breakers. Later in the quarter, Steve Young, the great quarterback for the LA Express, showing his great athletic ability. Nobody's open, so he runs over a couple of guys into the end zone, giving LA a 10-7 lead at halftime. But in the fourth quarter, watch Portland Breaker running back Buford Jordan, who ran for 110 yards in this game, pick up 4 here on this scamper into the end zone. And Vic Corey's Breakers win their home opener at Portland Civic Stadium. The final, Portland upsetting the LA Express 14-10.
Meanwhile, last Saturday night at Portland Civic Stadium, all sorts of fans showing up to watch the hometown Breakers against the favorite Oakland Invaders. Early on, first quarter, Matt Robinson to Dan Ross, touchdown. The Breakers have a 7-0 lead before almost 24,000 in Portland. Meanwhile, the Portland defense gave Bobby Aber of Oakland fits. This is one of 4 Portland interceptions on the night. Now, Dick Corey told this man to go all the way. He didn't quite do it, but leave it to Matt Robinson and the Portland offense to do the job. Robinson to Dan Ross again, rolling right, 4-yard touchdown. Breakers led it 17-0. Oakland would tie the game, scoring the next 17 points. Bobby Aber is having a great year. Coming over to Oakland from that Michigan merger, finds Albert Bentley, 33 yards and a touchdown for the second-year man out of Miami, but the Portland defense stuck it to Oakland. And after the defense got done hitting Oakland, well, the offense hit him with a little razzle-dazzle. Lewis Jackson on the halfback pass to Anthony Allen. Final, Portland had a big upset over Oakland, 30-17.
What if they held a war and nobody came? Well, it doesn't happen in New Jersey, where Doug Flutie posters are part of the attraction. Even the visiting Portland Breakers get one. Don't like it much, though. The Generals are the only Eastern Conference team undefeated at home. The Breakers are winless on the road. Biggest game all year! The Generals have a small army of weapons. The Breakers at best watch their step. The carnage begins when Herschel Walker attacks the Breakers on the right flank, and Doug Flutie drops a bomb to Clarence Collins on the left. The march is on, and New Jersey's most decorated general makes the first strike a successful one. Portland coach Dick Corey tries to stir up his troops, but for the Generals, a good offense is an equally good defense, led by 6-year pro Jerry Holmes. Off goes Matt Robinson, and back comes Flutie as the Generals take command. This time it's tight end Jeff Speck who delivers the knockout punch.
That Giants crossing pattern just killed us again there. Not playing very well.
No, indeed. And as the Generals push on, the Portland casualties mount. Methodically, efficient, the Generals walk all over the Breakers, with Herschel, the number 1 walker. That's it, boys. The party's over. Pack them up and move them out. Only one side can cheer in the Battle of the Meadowlands. The other can only retreat.
Making a return to the lineup after he missed 3 games with a pulled hamstring. At first, though, Baltimore's defense shined. Antonio Gibson picking off Matt Robinson at midfield. Antonio goes down the sidelines for 6, and the Stars with the extra point led it 7-0. Now, the man the Stars call KB, Kelvin Bryant, 3rd-year runner out of North Carolina. Well, he takes over the ball game here, taking an overhand lateral of sorts from Chuck Fusina, gets some nice blocking, gets around the left corner, and he is gone. 82-yard touchdown run for Bryant. He ran for 185 yards on the day against the Portland Breakers. Portland did have one bright moment, however. Watching the play action, Matt Robinson with a pump fake, and he hits Frank Lockett in stride, and nobody's going to catch Frank. He outruns the defense 85 yards for the touchdown, but it wasn't nearly enough. The Baltimore Stars even the record at 4-4-1. Portland is now 3-6. Baltimore wins it.
Meanwhile, the Bandits and the Breakers, Matt Robinson and Nolan France had a big first quarter. 24-yard hookup made it 7-0 in favor of the Breakers. Later on, Robinson hands to Vince Williams, and then gets it back and throws 29 yards to a wide-open Franz. The point after was no good. The Breakers led it 13-0. The Bandits have made crucial mistakes through a 4-game losing streak. Jeff Gossett's punt hits Bandits linebacker Keith Clark. Harold Ricks recovered the ball for the Portland Breakers. And 2 plays later, now in the 4th quarter, Buford Jordan takes the pitch out, just barely gets over the goal line before he fumbles it to make it 27-10 Breakers. John Reeves had a great game, 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 of them to Larry Brodsky. Not enough. The final 27-24, Portland.
I won this one for Coach Corey because he's been through a lot of things this year. You know, he was Coach of the Year in '83, and last year was kind of a disappointment, and this year was, I think, an even bigger disappointment when we lost Marcus Dupree. But we wanted to win it for him and for the Breaker pride. That's what we wanted for, because we had our own personal pride in this game.
The Breaker Pride, 24-27-20.
The Denver Gold are in the playoffs. The Portland Breakers aren't, but you wouldn't know it the way the Breakers played on Friday night on ESPN. Oh, 3rd and 35, no problem. Matt Robinson to Ryan Johnson, see it. Touchdown, 7-0 Breakers. They led it 10-7 at the half. In the third quarter now, again, Matt Robinson, the former New York Jet, pitching to Buford Jordan. Jordan gets hit by Greg Walls and fumbles. Darrell Hempel says, thank you very much. Picks it up on the bounce, and yes, he does stay in bounds and goes all the way, 78 yards for a touch. Denver in front, 14-10, but it didn't last long. Portland comes right back. Watch now as Matt Robinson, the quarterback keeper, does he break the plane to the goal line? Yes, right there he does. Gives the Breakers the lead again at 17-14. Fourth quarter now, last play of the game. Fourth down and goal. 23-17 Portland. Denver trying to win it. No, the pass is batted down by Joe Resnick of the Portland Breakers. Galliano's pass is no good.
Just here for the Fantasy Sports Network. Let's go back in time to 1985 for the last USFL championship between the Oakland Invaders and Baltimore Stars. Well, what was the USFL, you ask? Let me tell you about it. Well, the USFL was officially the United States Football League that gave birth to future Hall of Famers like Jim Kelly, Steve Young, and Reggie White. It also made Donald Trump a household name as owner of the New Jersey Generals. But let's go back in time and look at some of the players who would have been the best fantasy performers of today. The conversation starts and ends with Herschel Walker. Yeah, kids, Walker, the MMA fighter. Walker rushed for over 2,400 yards in 1985 and scored 21 touchdowns. In his USFL career, Walker had 54 touchdowns and rushed for over 5,500 yards. Another great back was Gary Anderson from the Tampa Bay Bandits. The Bandits outdrew the Buccaneers in attendance at times in the mid-'80s, as Steve Spurrier's fun and gun offense was the talk of the town in Tampa. Anderson's versatile talent as a receiver and rusher led Spurrier's attack with 45 TDs in his 3-year career, scoring 16 in 85, also notching up 72 receptions. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia and Baltimore, Kelvin Bryant scored 47 touchdowns on the ground and through the air, leading the Stars to 2 USFL championships before winning a 3rd championship with the Redskins in 1987. At quarterback, the USFL was flush with gunslingers like Jim Kelly, Bobby Hebert, and John Reeves. Kelly tossed 83 touchdowns in only 2 USFL seasons, a league best 44 and 84, as a run-and-shoot offense was hotter than a Houston barbecue in Texas. Hebert, the Cajun Cannon, threw 81 TDs for the Panthers and Invaders and won the first USFL championship against Jim Mora's Stars. Ironically, Hebert went on to play for Mora in New Orleans as the Saints became perennial playoff contenders with the influx of USFLers. John Reeves threw 53 TD passes and close to 8,300 yards in his last 2 USFL seasons under Spurrier. The Bandits, partially owned by actor Burt Reynolds, scored over 1,200 points over 3 years. Vinny Testaverde could not be reached for comment. At wide receiver, there is so much to go around. Let's start with AC Anthony Carter. Carter hauled in 14 Ts in 85 and 27 over his USFL career. In Houston, Richard Johnson caught Jim Kelly's bombs for 29 TDs in his 2 years. Teammate Ricky Sanders hauled in 18 before becoming a Super Bowl hero for the Redskins. The fact is that the USFL was fantasy football in the spring and in the summer, 18-game season. For more about the USFL, catch my book. Just Google USFL book by Mike.
1984 was the year that saved pro football. On October 7th, Walter Payton was set to break Jim Brown's iconic career rushing mark.
Quick pitch to Walter, looking for the record, cuts back, he's got it! Walter Payton becomes the National Football League all-time leading rusher.
This should have been a coronation, right? But if we loop back to pregame footage, Sweetness's sweetest moment was really more of an afterthought.
The week that was to be his alone began for Walter Payton in the shadows, off by himself. As he searched for a different kind of daylight, stalking deer, all Chicago, it seems, set its sights on Wrigley Field and the Cubs, who were fighting for their first pennant since 1945.
I mean, Walter, that's exciting, but this is Cubs. This was, 39 years we waited for this.
I'm all set for Peyton doing it. I'm sure he will this week, but it doesn't matter as much as the Cubs right now.
The Cubs finally being good was a big deal. Maybe even as big as Monday Night Football, which was really a big deal back then.
It was just like a part of a way of life in America. Everyone would look forward to it. You kind of build your dinner around it and whatever else.
The night after Peyton set the rushing record, Monday Night Football featured a matchup of the NFL's best team, the 49ers, and the team from the biggest media market, the Giants.
He wanted to spike it, didn't he? He thought about it. Is this against the rules or what?
But on that night, America changed the channel to a TV movie starring Farrah Fawcett.
No, my bed isn't too hard.
The story of The Burning Bed was based on a nonfiction book, was a true story of a woman who'd been abused for many years, and she set a fire which killed her husband. So the thought was, guys are going to be watching football. Do something where you get as many women as possible. Nobody really thought it was going to go through the roof. 75 million viewers watched all or part of it.
Cable was much less important. So a lot of people only had the 3 networks and PBS. So if people weren't watching football, they were going to watch something, and I guess it was going to be Farrah Fawcett burning a guy in a bed.
Over 1/3 of all U.S. households tuned in to The Burning Bed, and Monday Night Football recorded its lowest rating in history.
That's it. Don Meredith was here, he'd be singing the party.
The league has become, in the minds of many, a series of mediocre teams with a bunch of double-knit coaches all in the same uniform with the same game plan. Does it have much of a future?
There will always be a place for the National Football League and a big place in the sports spectrum of this country. Because of a multiple number of factors, will it ever get the ratings that it used to get in the halcyon days? In my opinion, no.
The NFL also continued to have its space invaded by the upstart USFL.
In its second year, the USFL landed its biggest crowd. Numbers like that are bringing the league to Miami. City commissioners approved a deal this morning that should put a USFL team in the Orange Bowl by 1986.
Don Shula would like to come, Brent. He'd like to come to New York. One of the little obstacles is he'd like an apartment in a building that I have on Fifth Avenue called Trump Tower. And that's something that's more valuable than money.
We just bought this hotel 2-3 days ago. We did it for this news conference. We thought you people would...
Donald Trump and the USFL made plans to move to the fall.
If God wanted football in the spring, he wouldn't have created baseball.
Well, we had a good league, but I always said spring football will never work. It'll never be first class. And if you look at a building like this, it's 57th and 5th. It's the best location right next to Tiffany. And that's what I've been all about, doing the best. And spring football was not that. And I thought if we moved to the fall, we'd create tremendous problems for the NFL, and something would happen.
On October 17th, the USFL filed a $1 billion antitrust lawsuit against the NFL.
Do you see this as an attempt on their parts to maybe force a merger somewhere down the line?
That's all that Donald Trump and 2 or 3 of those immensely wealthy men have in mind.
Well, I would have liked to have been an NFL owner if I could have gotten in inexpensively. And frankly, this was a way of getting, as one alternative, into the NFL very inexpensively. So we're going to be around for a long time, fellas, and we're going to win our antitrust case. And good luck to everybody. Thank you very much. I hope the hotel's taking good care. Thank you very much.
Sports Illustrated capped the worst month in NFL history with a devastating diagnosis from Dr. Z.
Coaches like to tell you that they can't comment on a breakdown of a game until they look at the films. Well, Paul Zimmerman of Sports Illustrated is a writer who doesn't like to hit the typewriter until he looks at the films.
You know, the written word was king. We didn't have an internet back in the 80s.
This is pre-ESPN being gigantic, pre-explosion of media. When Sports Illustrated came out and made a pronouncement, the game is boring, it needs to be fixed, people in the NFL really paid attention. Football, it wasn't going down the tubes, but it had flatlined.
Zim, what is the state of the game today, the NFL?
I think football has gotten away from its essence, and its essence is a certain amount of toughness. I don't like corporate-type people. I don't like guys with hair dryers.
So when they came out and said, what's wrong with the NFL, everybody paid attention, especially all the television executives in New York. They started to get nervous, nervous. Hey, whoa.
Well, that kind of cover on Sports Illustrated is
Pete Rozell's nightmare. This is the thing he wakes up in the middle of the night screaming about.